The world of the British royal family has always been filled with tradition, pressure, and public fascination. For decades, every royal decision, every interview, and every public appearance has been examined by millions of people around the globe. But when Hollywood, royalty, and personal opinions collide, the result can create a storm that dominates headlines. A recent wave of online discussion has focused on an alleged dramatic exchange involving legendary actress Helen Mirren and Meghan Markle, with claims that a conversation on a talk show became a heated debate about fame, duty, and the meaning of royal service. While the details circulating online remain the subject of speculation and commentary, the story has captured attention because it represents a much larger conversation, one that has divided royal watchers for years. What does it truly mean to become part of the monarchy? Is royal life a privilege, a responsibility, or a difficult combination of both? And why does the image of Queen Elizabeth II continue to inspire such strong emotions even years after her reign ended? To understand why a conversation like this could create such a reaction, we have to look beyond the headlines and explore the very different worlds that Helen Mirren and Meghan Markle represent. For many viewers, Helen Mirren is not simply an actress. She is considered one of the greatest performers of her generation, a woman whose career was built over decades of dedication, discipline, and unforgettable performances. Her connection to the royal family became especially significant when she portrayed Queen Elizabeth II in the acclaimed film, The Queen. That role changed how many people viewed Mirren's relationship with the monarchy. Before taking on the challenge of playing the late monarch, she approached the role as an actress studying a historical figure. But the deeper she went into Queen Elizabeth's life, the more she discovered about the personal sacrifices behind the crown. Mirren studied speeches, watched countless public appearances, and examined the decisions that shaped one of Britain's longest reigns. She came to understand that behind the image of royalty was a person who had spent a lifetime placing duty before personal comfort. For Helen, Queen Elizabeth represented commitment. She represented a generation where responsibility came before personal desires, where public service was considered a lifelong promise. That perspective earned Mirren enormous respect from many royal supporters. Her portrayal of the Queen was praised worldwide, and she received one of the highest honors in acting when she won the Academy Award for Best Actress. But while Helen Mirren's connection to royalty came through research and performance, Meghan Markle's connection came through personal experience. When Meghan married Prince Harry, she entered a world unlike anything she had known before. Almost overnight, she became one of the most recognizable women on the planet. Her every move was analyzed, her clothing choices became news, and her private life became a subject of global discussion. Supporters argued that Meghan faced intense pressure and unfair treatment from sections of the media. Critics, however, questioned some of the choices she and Harry made after leaving royal duties, especially their decision to publicly discuss private family matters. This divide created two completely different interpretations of the same story. To some people, Meghan represented someone challenging an outdated institution and speaking openly about her experiences. To others, she represented someone who benefited from royal recognition while later criticizing the same system that gave her worldwide attention. And this is where the alleged conversation involving Helen Mirren became so interesting to royal watchers. The idea of two women with such different perspectives discussing the monarchy immediately captured public imagination. One woman had spent years studying the crown from the outside, learning about its history and traditions. The other had experienced royal life from within, understanding the pressure that came with the title. According to online discussions surrounding the alleged exchange, the conversation centered around one powerful idea: sacrifice. Supporters of the monarchy often point to Queen Elizabeth's lifetime of service as an example of dedication. They argue that royal privilege comes with enormous responsibility and that members of the family are expected to give up personal freedom in exchange for public duty. Critics, however, argue that privilege does not remove personal struggles. They believe that members of the royal family can experience genuine difficulties despite their position. This difference in perspective has been at the center of many royal debates. The alleged discussion reportedly became tense when the subject moved from Queen Elizabeth's dedication to the challenges of modern royal life. The contrast between traditional royal expectations and personal experiences created a moment that many viewers found fascinating. Helen Mirren's approach has always been centered around understanding history. She has often spoken about how portraying Queen Elizabeth changed her own view of the monarchy. Before researching the role, she admitted that she did not fully understand the weight carried by someone born into such responsibility. But after studying the Queen's life, She developed admiration for the discipline required to maintain that public role for decades. According to Mirren's perspective, the monarchy was not simply about privilege. It was about obligation. Every appearance, every speech, and every public moment carried meaning. The Queen's personal feelings often had to remain secondary to her responsibilities. This understanding explains why many people believe Mirren has a unique viewpoint when discussing the royal family. She is not speaking as someone looking for attention or controversy. She is speaking as someone who spent years examining the institution and the person at its center. Meanwhile, Meghan Markle supporters often emphasize a different reality, that being part of the royal family does not eliminate personal struggles. They argue that public expectations can create enormous emotional pressure and that speaking about those experiences is not an attack, but an attempt to share a personal truth. This clash between duty and personal freedom is one of the biggest questions surrounding the modern monarchy. Can someone appreciate the opportunities that come with royal life while also criticizing the difficulties they experienced? Can an institution built on centuries of tradition adapt to the expectations of a modern world? These questions have no simple answers, which is why conversations involving the royal family continue to attract such intense attention. Whether the reported Helen Mirren and Meghan Markle confrontation actually happened exactly as described online or has been exaggerated through social media storytelling, the reason people are fascinated is clear. It represents a much deeper debate about fame, responsibility, loyalty, and the price of living under public attention. The world watched as Queen Elizabeth spent more than 70 years representing stability and tradition. Her supporters saw a woman who sacrificed personal freedom for service. Her critics saw an institution that needed change. And now, years later, those same questions continue through discussions about the future of the monarchy and the people connected to it. But the biggest question remains. When someone leaves a powerful institution behind, should they focus on the opportunities it provided, the difficulties they experienced, or both? The answer depends on who you ask. And as the conversation surrounding Helen Mirren and Meghan Markle continues to spread, one thing is certain: the debate over royalty, responsibility, and reputation is far from over. There are no easy answers. Many people believe both things can be true at the same time. A person can experience privilege and still face genuine difficulties. An institution can have historical importance while also needing reform. But conversations about the monarchy often become emotional because they involve identity, tradition, and personal values. For royal supporters, the crown represents continuity. It represents generations of service and a connection to history. For critics, the monarchy represents an institution that must adapt to changing expectations. The reason Queen Elizabeth remained such a powerful figure was that she represented something beyond politics. Even people who disagreed with the monarchy often acknowledged her dedication and consistency. This was the quality Helen Mirren repeatedly highlighted when discussing the Queen. She admired the ability to remain committed to a role for an entire lifetime. In a world where public attention changes quickly and careers can rise and fall overnight, the idea of decades-long dedication feels increasingly rare. This difference may explain why discussions about Meghan Markle and the royal family remain so intense. The story is not only about one person or one decision. It is about changing ideas of service, celebrity, privacy, and responsibility. The older generation often values silence, patience, and duty. The modern generation often values openness, personal expression, and emotional honesty. The royal family has found itself caught between these two worlds. The future of the monarchy may depend on finding a balance between preserving tradition and accepting change. As the public continues debating the relationship between Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, and the rest of the royal family, one thing remains clear. People are deeply interested because the story reflects questions that exist far beyond the palace walls. Questions about family. Questions about reputation. Questions about forgiveness. And questions about what happens when personal happiness conflicts with public responsibility. Whether viewers support Helen Mirren's perspective, Meghan Markle's perspective, or somewhere in between, the conversation reveals something important about modern celebrity culture. People no longer simply watch public figures. They analyze them, debate them, and create their own interpretations of every decision. The royal family has always lived under a microscope, but today that microscope is stronger than ever. Every interview becomes a major event. Every statement becomes a global discussion. Every disagreement becomes a symbol of something larger. And that is why stories involving the monarchy continue to capture worldwide attention. The alleged clash between Helen Mirren and Meghan Markle may have become a viral topic, but the real discussion goes much deeper. It is about what society expects from people who live extraordinary lives. Should they accept the responsibilities that come with their position? Should they challenge traditions they believe are unfair? Or is the truth somewhere between these two extremes? Perhaps the most important lesson from this entire debate is that public life is never simple. Behind every title, every achievement, and every public image is a human story filled with choices and consequences. Queen Elizabeth II's legacy continues because millions remember her commitment to duty. Meghan Markle's journey continues because millions remain interested in her search for independence and personal identity. And Helen Mirren's reputation continues because she represents decades of dedication to her craft and a deep understanding of the historical figures she portrays. 3 different stories. 3 different experiences. One conversation that continues to inspire debate around the world. The fascination with royalty is not disappearing anytime soon. As long as tradition meets change, and personal stories meet public expectations, the world will continue watching. Because behind every royal headline is a larger question. What does it truly mean to serve, to belong, and to create a legacy that lasts? As the debate surrounding Helen Mirren and Meghan Markle continued to spread, many people began looking beyond the alleged conversation itself and started examining the bigger issues behind it. At the center of the discussion was not simply a disagreement between 2 famous women. It was a clash between 2 completely different views of public life. One perspective focused on tradition, sacrifice, and responsibility. The other focused on personal experience, individual struggles, and the need for change. For decades, Queen Elizabeth II represented the traditional image of royal duty. She became known around the world as a figure of stability, especially during moments of uncertainty. Supporters admired her ability to remain calm through political changes, family challenges, and global crises. Helen Mirren's admiration for the late Queen came from studying that extraordinary journey. When Mirren prepared for her role as Elizabeth II, she did not simply memorize lines or copy mannerisms. She attempted to understand the mindset of someone who had lived almost an entire lifetime under public observation. She explored the moments when the Queen had to make difficult decisions, maintain composure during criticism, and continue representing the nation despite personal challenges. For Mirren, the most powerful lesson was that leadership often requires sacrifice. She saw Queen Elizabeth not as someone who lived an easy life of privilege, but as someone who accepted a responsibility that came with enormous restrictions. Every public appearance required preparation. Every statement had consequences. Every personal emotion had to be balanced against the expectations of millions. This image of service became one of the main reasons many royal supporters connected so strongly with Helen's portrayal of the Queen. However, the modern royal family exists in a very different world from the one Queen Elizabeth entered decades earlier. Social media changed everything. Public figures are no longer separated from audiences by distance and tradition. Celebrities and royals are constantly questioned, analyzed, and judged in real time. For Meghan Markle, joining the royal family meant entering one of the most intense forms of public attention imaginable. Before becoming Duchess of Sussex, Meghan had already built a career as an actress and public figure. But royal life introduced a completely different level of scrutiny. Every headline, every photograph, and every public appearance became part of a worldwide conversation. Supporters of Meghan argue that she experienced pressures that few people could understand. They point to the intense media attention, constant criticism, and challenges of adjusting to a centuries-old institution. They believe that speaking openly about those experiences was a way of taking control of her own story. Critics, however, believe that public criticism of the monarchy after receiving royal opportunities creates a difficult contradiction. They argue that the title, connections, and global recognition provided enormous advantages, and that criticizing the institution afterward creates questions about loyalty and gratitude. This disagreement has continued to fuel debates across television, newspapers, and social media. The alleged Helen Mirren exchange became popular because it represented this larger conflict. It raised a question that many people have debated for years. Can someone respect the opportunities they received while also criticizing the environment that came with them?